Hey everyone, it's Ian from the Postal Hub podcast.
And Marek from Last Mile Experts.
And we are the Last Mile Prophets. Marek, interesting news out of China recently. What our friends at Alibaba are doing in the last mile. They're sort of setting up their own post office network, which I thought was interesting. It's called the Cainiao. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it correctly, everybody, but you look it up and you'll know what I mean. The Cainiao network is going to be 30,000 community post stations known as Cainiao Post in 100 Chinese cities. This is an interesting one, isn't it, Marek?
This is hot. It's really hot. China has been doing a lot of stuff behind the Great Wall. As we've often mentioned, over 330,000 lockers. It's incredible.
The numbers are always staggering, aren't they? Well, you look at this, there's about 30,000 community post stations. There's not a lot of posts in the world that have 30,000 post offices. And these guys are just going to, we're just going to set up a network just like that.
Well, to be fair, I think there's an outfit called Best in China that has something like 450,000 PUDOs. So everything in China is big. But I think what is interesting here is, the fact that they're going to be able to support the locker network with a not insignificant number of what they call sort of postal type outlets. Now, what's interesting, I guess, is what exactly they mean by that. Is it going to be just parcels? Will it be available for fresh delivery?
Well, this is what I wanted to mention, is because on the face of it, you think, this is a pick-up drop-off point. But given that they're essentially an e-commerce retailer, a platform, whatever you want to call it, it could be so much more. When you look at what Amazon's done with its own retail network, there's no limitations on it, if that makes sense. So you could see pickups, we could see drop-offs could be the first mile of e-commerce returns, but it could be opened up to so much more. But the scale, I know I keep going on about this, is really what boggles my mind. Marek, you just mentioned fresh, though, and how difficult that is to crack. How do you think that this could play into the delivery of fresh?
Fresh requires localized stock points, and they have to be temperature controlled. And machines are developed, and you have, let's call it fresh lockers, but they're extremely expensive. There's the Cleveron 501. There's a Polish company that's looking at them. And as you remember from our last
our in-post webinar, that Rafael said that they're doing something in that space as well. But you just mentioned that they're often expensive machines, and they can't be in direct light or things like that, sort of just to make it a little bit simpler for them and more efficient for them to operate. But if they're indoors,
absolutely. Well, actually, it could be a little bit like our friend Catalin's idea in Romania, where basically he has a refrigerated box type module, and inside you can have a lot simpler, more standardized equipment. So that could be what they're after here. But the key thing is they'll have a localized footprint, and that gives a lot of potential, both in terms of fresh, but also theoretically they could have stock of high volume selling items in the postal point, or whatever they want to call it.
Like an instant kind of fulfillment thing.
Instant gratification, absolutely.
Yeah.
Theoretically, they could have a simplified returns scheme whereby somebody checks the item immediately and you get a credit, almost immediately. So I think it's interesting, opens up a whole lot of potential.
And I think we need to also talk about the last mile here, and that is that we don't know how much fulfillment can be done out of these local shops as well. So if they're going to fill it with, like you just said, the fast-moving items, or it might be used as a delivery station, there could be a couple of couriers operating out of that. The same way that, was it Yandex in Russia? They were actually teaming up with the local convenience stores, weren't they, to offer local, fast, express fulfillment of stock. So there's nothing to stop them doing that either, is there?
Theoretically, Ian, they could be used as a consolidation point. So several local retailers, or let's take the fresh example, which is really difficult with fresh products, could deliver to that point for a single pickup by the customer. It's really got a lot of potential. The scale is mind-boggling. As you said, I didn't see a timing in the article. So the key thing is, but knowing China, I would imagine that we're not talking 2 or 3 years ahead.
It's not going to take years and years. I think there's an interesting point made in one of the articles about this, was that the Chinese e-commerce market is massive. There are massive volumes being pumped through it. 7.3 billion parcels in May this year alone, which is a huge amount.
But Ian, did you see the bit which is exactly what we're seeing in other markets, that despite the fact that China is just bigger in every respect, they have the same sort of 100% growth that most other geographies we've seen have during COVID.
And how carrier agnostic would something like this be? Alibaba is different to JD. I often think of JD being a bit more like Amazon and Alibaba being a bit more like a more developed eBay because of all the things that hang off Alibaba. What could be happening here with regard to opening up to other carriers, other e-commerce retailers even? What do you think?
I hope it's going to be open because JD.com is generally not open. And this would be an interesting approach. Let's see. Time will tell. Nothing is clear from the article that we've seen, but I think let's watch this space. If they're smart, they will make it open because this is a whole new subject matter, but then it allows them to grow faster,
Sure.
Economy scale.
I guess let's just bring this now to the Western world. We know that Alibaba and JD have been trying to crack the European market, and we've seen at the same time Amazon trying to get its retail right, whether it's partnering with Whole Foods, partnering with acquiring Whole Foods or whatever it's doing. Any pointers here?
That's partnering, isn't it? You just buy somebody.
Buy it. We're going to partner with them by buying them. What could be happening? Could we see this kind of thing happen in Western Europe, Central Europe, or even North America, where the big markets where Alibaba wants to crack? I don't know. What do you reckon?
I reckon, and we had this discussion between the two of us before. Post-COVID, a lot of things are going to change, and it makes it really hard now to predict what's going to happen over the next 12 months, let alone 2 or 3 years. So I would say probably anything can happen now because there are a lot of traditional retailers who are feeling very concerned and understand they need to change in some way. So my personal feeling is anything is possible. It's about finding people with, the right vision at the right time and the right technology to make it happen.
I think that's a great point. The right technology at the right time and the willingness to be able to grow something fast, which seems to be the thinking over there in China right now. So comment below. What do you think about this? Is this a pointer of what could be happening in other markets, or is this really just a Chinese phenomenon? How could Alibaba benefit from setting up these Cainiao Post offices in these 100 Chinese cities? What will it mean? Could we learn some lessons for the rest of the last mile sector? Comment below, share your comments, and hopefully we'll see some interesting comments from many of the experts who watch this. Marek Różycki from Last Mile Experts. Thanks for being part of the Last Mile Profits today.
Thanks, Ian. Thank you, everyone. Hey, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Last Mile Profits.
Make sure you subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and also the notifications bell so you get a notification every time we add a new video to this channel. Look forward to sharing more stuff with you on the Last Mile Profits.